actually the Shinto shrine.
There's one reaction.
Hello, everybody. We're going to be starting here in a second. This is, I'm going to show this in a second, but this was a gift from Daniela. She went up to Scuba Mountain, and there's a Buddhist temple up there. And this is some kind of good luck.
Yes, for the first day of the new era.
For the first day of the new year. So it must say perhaps Reiwa.
Yeah.
It's in a lovely cursive script, which is very difficult to read. Even my wife would not, even her mother might not be able to read that. It's so lovely. You can see it's just flowing. Oh, I'm going to cherish this. And it has a little Sanskrit in the back as well. What we're going to do is when you receive a gift in Japan, you put it on the Butsudan, the Buddhist altar, just to say thanks. So that's what we're going to do today. Let me think of a good place for this. I don't want to start a fire, so we'll put it right under here. Shading the Buddha is very nice. Sweets. Yes, actually, Tsukuba Jinja, it's little known, was a Zen temple. And what happened in the Meiji era is, there was a lot of politics involved. And they tried to sometimes put down the Buddhism, especially in this area of Japan, Ibaraki-ken. So that became a Shinto shrine. Mm-hmm. But actually, there were many Buddhist temples up there. But I didn't know there was a Buddhist temple on the mountain. You mean at the foot of the mountain?
Yes. And it's
near parking, hotels and parking?
Yeah, it's only like building containers. It looks like a temporary building, and they are now building another huge structure there. I have no idea what it is.
Oh.
But in this container was like this nun with her office, and next to it was like a shrine. Like
it's a double mystery. It's a double mystery.
And I've seen it often, but I never went up there because I thought it's just office buildings.
Okay.
And there's this wonderful charismatic nun sitting there.
Oh, you have to show me where it is. I'm going to have to investigate. Good morning, everybody. And we're welcoming Francis. Good morning to you. Let me explain. I was explaining to him that today we respect our roots a little more. So here, this will give you a chance to practice your kanji. This is actually what we're chanting this morning. And then, where's the, yes, I'm grabbing the wrong one. Where's the other one? Here it is. And then we do a second chant. This is about 1,000 years old. Yeah. And like so many things in Buddhism, it was very complicated. It's about the same thing as this. Yeah. We take the world, we divide it in pieces. Yeah. So this says, we divide it in pieces, but there's also the view of the world where no pieces. Pieces are made here. Francis, Danny, our friends. Hi guys, right? Computer, sun, stars, right? They're separate, but there's also the view all together, right? This is where a lot of the Catholic priests said, yeah, we know what that is, right? So this says, see it both ways, together and separate. And also, see everything just as it is. This has its color. This is a world of colors. There's blue, there's yellow, right? And this is a world where all the colors come together. That's what it says. Very easy. You don't even have to read it. Here you go. Okay. Okay, sorry to be late this morning. Let's see. Let me light the candle. All right. I did start the netcast. Yes, I did. Good. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. All right. Today is a fortunate day. Shokai will be delivering his talk today, which will be on Vesak, which is the Buddha's birthday. I'll just mention that I believe Vesak in most of Asia is April 19th. No, May 19th, sorry. And April 8th in Japan. And you might say, Wait, didn't we have the Buddha's birthday? April 8th. Yes, that's in Japan. But the Buddha has another birthday in much of Asia because their calendar is the old lunar calendar, and many birthdays. So that is why we'll be speaking about the Buddha's birthday today. Every day is the Buddha's birthday, right? Right? Okay. And let's see. Anything else to mention? Thank you, Kyonin, for being here. You'll be doing the chant. Jakuden, good to see you. Onkai, as always. All right. If you've been here before, you know what to do. And if it's your first time, just follow along. And as I said, in your heart, I do some bowing today to be traditional. In your heart, I just feel gratitude for life, whatever you wish. Okay? Don't worry about this. Okay. All right.
Maka hanya haramita shingyo kanji zaibo satsugyojin hanya haramita jisho kengon kai kudoi saiku yakushari shiki fui kuku fui shiki sokuze kuku sokuze shiki ju sogyo shiki yakubu nyoze shari shize shohoku sofu shofu metsufu gufu yofu zofu gen zekoku chumu shikimu ju sogyo shikimu gen nibize shin mu shiki shoko mi soku ho mugen kai nai shi mu shiki kai mu mu myo yaku mu mu myo jin nai shi mu ro shi yaku mu ro shi jin mu kushu metsudo muji yakumu toku ibu shoto kobo dai satae hanya haramita koshin mukege mukege komu ukufu onri saiden no musoku gyone hansan ze shobutsue hanya haramida kotoku anokutara sanmyaku san bodai koji hanya haramida zedai jinshu zedai myoshu zemu joshu zemu todo shu no joi saiku shinjitsu fukoku setsu hanya haramida shusoku setsu shuwatsu yade hara so yade boji soaka hanya shingyo. The identity of relative and absolute. The mind of the great sage of India is intimately conveyed west and east, while human faculties are both wise and dull. In the way there are no northern or southern ancestors, the subtle source shines clear in the light, the branching streams flow in the dark. To be attached to things is primordial illusion. To encounter the absolute is not yet enlightenment. All the spheres, every sense and field, intermingle even as they shine alone, interacting even as they merge, yet keeping their places in expressions of their own. Sights differ primarily in shape and character, and sounds in harsh or soothing tones. The dark makes all words one. The brightness distinguishes good and bad praises. The four elements return to their true nature as a child turns to its mother. Fire is hot, water is wet, wind moves, and the earth is dense. Eye and form, ear and sound, nose and smell, tongue and taste, the sweet and sour, each independent of the other, like leaves that come from the same root. And though leaves and root must go back to the source, both root and leaves have their own uses. Light is also darkness, but do not see it as darkness. Darkness is light, do not see it as light. Light and darkness are not one, not two, like the foot before and the foot behind in walking. Each thing has its own being, which is no different from its place and function. The relative fits the absolute as a box and its lid. The absolute meets the relative like two arrow points that touch in midair. Hearing these simply perceive what is, make no criterion. If you do not see the way, you do not see it even as you walk upon it. walking forward in the way. You draw no nearer, progress no further. One who fails to see this truth is mountain and rivers away. Listen, those who would perceive this subtle matter. Live well your time by night and day. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, reality existing right here now, in reciting the heart of the perfection of Great Wisdom Sutra and the identity of relative and absolute. We dedicate our sincere efforts to Shakyamuni Buddha Honor One, the historical Buddha and teacher, and to those ancestral teachers, Eihei Dogen Honor One, Soji Keisan Honor One, all successive Honor Ones up until Zuigaku Renpo Honor One and Gudo Wafu Honor One, and to all other Honor Ones throughout history, male and female Honor Ones whose names have been forgotten or left unsaid. We also dedicate these efforts to the three treasures Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, to all awakened ones and teachers in all places and times. We especially seek tranquility and well being for all creatures now suffering or ill in health. May they be serene through all the ills. May their lives be at peace and wisdom pervade the darkness of ignorance. We dedicate our hopes and aspirations to all victims of war and violence and natural events, to the injured and to all families touched by these tragedies, to the healing of hatred in all countries and among all peoples, to the wisdom and compassion of our world leaders, to the peace of the world and harmony of all beings. Thus let the harmful effects of words, thoughts, and actions be dispelled, and compassion bloom in perpetual spring. May we all realize and live the enlightened way together. All Buddhas throughout space and time. All Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, Maham, Prashnam, Paramita.
Zazen? You can sit there facing the wall. In the photo shoot, we sit facing the wall. Linji, the Rinzai shoot. This way. Doesn't matter. But this is the table where the monks eat. Do what she does. But we try not to sit or put our feet here because it's the eating place. It's a little tricky. We got to get over. Do what she does. Okay. Inhale. Zazen? We will have a long canyon. You can walk in here or go outside on a stretch. I'm going to bring some tea and anything except no telephone, no Facebook. I'm checking Facebook. Just kidding. We will have a Dharma talk by Reverend Shokai and the Little Zazen. Jonah, can you do the verse to open the sutras for Shokai? Okay.
Jindo, could you please check your camera? I can't see you. I only see blackness.
Can other people see me or not? Only you, Kyonin. Shokai says no. Shakuden, you see me? No, huh? This happened last week. Let me just try something. How about now?
Can I get a sound check? Check, check, check. Everybody hear me?
Hear you good. Oh, please. Huh? Oh, sit here, relax. We're going to drink some tea. So, Shokai, let me give Shokai the. Now everything is in your. You have the ball, Shokai. Kyonin?
The Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is always encountered yet rarely perceived. Now we see, hear, receive, and maintain this. May we all realize the Tathagata's true meaning. The Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is always encountered yet rarely perceived. Now we see, hear, receive, and maintain this. May we all realize the Tathagata's true meaning. The Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is always encountered yet rarely perceived. Now we see, hear, receive, and maintain this. May we all realize the Tathagata's true meaning.
Thank you. And thank you all for being here. We're going to talk about the birth of the baby Buddha and what is Wesak. In Japan, it's celebrated as a Hanamatsuri on the 8th of April, as Jundo has already mentioned. And in the rest of the world, it's known as Buddha Day. And celebrates his birthday, his death, his enlightenment, all of the events in his life, all at one time. And whereas in Japan, we celebrate Rohatsu in early December, his enlightenment, and Parinirvana in February, his passing. So it's April the 8th in Japan, but it's this year, May the 19th in other parts, and that happens to be the first full moon in May. Well, we'll see a little difference further down, but it's celebrated by having very colorful parades and decorations, picnics, games. They build pavilions for monks to sit meditation and do oryoki, and it includes meditation of large groups, such as it has some detail of Buddha Day. Wesak is an Upathatha day of observance for Theravada Buddhists in many Asian countries. It celebrates the birth of Buddha and his enlightenment. Buddhists in all parts of the world can mark this special day in a variety of ways, but the chief of them is following the eight precepts. This Buddha Day fast and meditate on these principles of conscious conduct. So, honoring life, you fast from taking a human or animal life. For generosity, you fast from stealing and taking from others. For sexual integrity, you embrace celibacy and refrain from sexual activity. And wrong speech, you refrain from words that hurt others, as well as lying, deception, and manipulation. Sobriety, fast from alcohol and drugs. Eating, eat in the morning, after sunrise, and before noon. Modest reverence, fast from music of all kinds, as well as adorning yourself with accessories. And sleeping, refrain from sleeping too much or sleeping in lavish places. So, who was the Buddha, and why do we celebrate his birthday? Buddha preferred to be known, although he wasn't the founder of a religion. He preferred not to be thought of as that. He preferred to be thought of as a teacher or a guide, a physician treating the maladies of the human condition. He taught methods to alleviate the suffering, this anguish, the pervasive dissatisfaction that characterizes the human condition. He didn't ask his followers to take these teachings on faith. Rather, he asked them to test these principles for themselves. So here we are, 2,500 years later, doing just that as we sit down to meditate. And it is for this reason that we celebrate the birthday of this being who gave humanity a dharma, a set of livable truths that were, when embraced, lead to an enduring and abiding engagement with life. Having said that, the Buddha was just a man who discovered a remedy for suffering, or dukkha. We're given a number of versions of how he was born and how he got here. Not quite the normal human birth. As we see above in Asvagosha's, Asvagosha was the 12th patriarch in India. He tells us in his epic poem, Buddha Karita, and I'll just read that. This is, of course, an excerpt from the Buddha Karita. We don't have time for the whole poem. Then one day, by the king's permission, the queen, having great longing in her mind, went with the inmates of the Gynaeceum into the garden of Lumbini. As the queen supported herself by a bough which hung laden with the weight of flowers, the Bodhisattva suddenly came forth, cleaving open her womb. At that time, the constellation Pushya was auspicious, and from the side of the queen, who was purified by her vow, her son was born for welfare of the world, without pain and without illness. Like the sun bursting from a cloud in the morning, so he too, when he was born from his mother's womb, made the world bright like gold, bursting forth with rays which dispelled the darkness. As soon as he was born, the thousand-eyed Indra, well pleased, took him gently, bright like a golden pillar, and 2 pure streams of water fell down from heaven upon his head with piles of mandara flowers. Carried about by the chief Shuras, and delighting them with the rays that streamed from his body, he surpassed in beauty the new moon as it rests on a mass of evening clouds. On a new moon, celebrated on the full moon. So the Encyclopedia Britannica states, he determined that he should be born the son of a king Shodadana of the Shakya clan, whose capital was Paplavastu, and shortly thereafter his mother, the Queen Mayamaya, dreamed that a white elephant had entered her womb. 10 lunar months later, as she strolled in the garden of Lumbini, the child emerged from under her right arm. He was able to walk and talk immediately. A lotus flower blossomed under his foot at each step, and apparently he took 7 steps, and he announced that this would be his last lifetime. Not so natural a birth. The Lata Vistara Sutra in chapter 7 gives a very eloquent description, very lengthy description. Matter of fact, the sutra is probably 10 pages here for chapter 7. The first 9 pages prepare you for the event. It talks about monks in this way. 10 months passed, and the time came for the Bodhisattva to take birth. At that time, 32 omens occurred in King Suddhodana's parks. All flowers budded and blossomed in the ponds, all blue, red, and white lotus. Flowers also budded and blossomed. New fruit flower trees from the earth budded and came into blossom. And it goes on and on for 9 pages, after which it tells you when Mayadevi arrived in Lumbini Grove, she stepped down from her fine chariot as humans and divine maidens encircled her and wandered from tree to tree and from grove to grove, and she looked among all the trees and eventually arrived beneath a very special and exquisite fig tree. Its branches spread out, full of lush leaves and clusters of blossoms, and further adorned with numerous human and divine flowers, richly scented cloths, and many so on and so on and so forth. So there's somewhere in the stories, it goes on to say that in that time, when a woman was ready to give birth, she would go begin the trip to her mother's hometown, or back to her mother. And there's another version that I read that it was the story told by a midwife that was present at the time. They sort of knew this was going to happen, right? The Mahapadadana Sutra, the great discourse of lineage, lays out the rules of entry for Buddhas or Bodhisattvas to be born as Buddhas into the world. In this Mahapadana Sutra, the great discourse of lineage, Buddha lays out and tells of 6 previous Buddhas that had entered the world, and starting from 91 eons prior to that, fully enlightened Buddha Vipassi arose in the world. He was born into the Katiya race and arose in the Katiya family. He was of the Kodana clan. The span of his life was 80,000 years. He gained his full enlightenment at the foot of a trumpet flower tree. I've got one of those in my backyard, and does it spread. And he had the pair of noble disciples, Kanda and Tissa, as his chief followers. He had 3 assemblies of disciples, one 6,800,000, one of 100,000, and one of 80,000 monks, all arhats. His chief personal attendant was the monk Ashoka. His father was King Banduma, and his mother was Queen Bandumanati. The king's capital was Bandumati. And so, monks, the Bodhisattva Vipassi descended from the Tushiti heaven, mindful and clearly aware, into his mother's womb, and this, monks, is the rule. And he goes on to say, it was the rule for 5 other Buddhas before him. It was a rule. He entered his mother's womb, and 4 devas came to protect him from the 4 quarters, saying, let no man, no human being, no thing whatsoever harm the bodhisattva of this bodhisattva's mother. That is the rule. It is the rule that when he entered his mother's womb, his mother becomes nature virtuous, refraining from taking life, from taking what is not given, from sexual misconduct, from lying speech, or from strong drink and sloth-producing drugs. That is the rule. And it goes on to say that, well, as you've already been noted in the post that Jundo put up last month about Wesak, the mother is visited by a white elephant, and in a dream, and the white elephant offers her a lotus, pink lotus, and places the pink lotus in her womb. And as he does that, he gets in himself. So she's got a white elephant in her. And that happens 10 months before the birth. That's the rule, according to this sutra. Further to that, he is to be born, as noted, comes out of the side of the mother, and stands and points up to the sky and down to the ground, and says, between heaven and earth, I am the ruler of all. And of course, as it said, he proclaimed that this was his last birth. So there's another nice story here. Thich Nhat Hanh eloquently tells the light in the life of Buddha, old path, white clouds. He describes the birth like this: Mahamaya, Siddhartha's mother, the wife of the great king of the Indian Shakya clan, had a premonitory dream before giving birth to him. A magnificent white elephant with 6 tusks descended from heaven, surrounded by a chorus of beautiful phrases, and the elephant approached her in skin white as the mountain snow. It held a brilliant pink lotus flower in its trunk and placed the flower within the queen's body. Then the elephant, too, entered her effortlessly. and all at once she was filled with deep ease and joy. The king summoned all the local holy men to divine the meaning of this dream, and their conclusion was that they said, "Your Majesty, the queen will give birth to a son who will be a great leader. He is destined to become either a mighty emperor who rules throughout the four directions, or a great teacher who will show the way of truth to all beings in heaven and earth." And it was custom in those days, here's the story of the custom in those days, the woman returned to her parents' home to give birth. And Mahamaya set out for Ramagama, the capital of Kolia. Along the way, she stopped to rest in the garden of Lumbini, and the forest was filled with flowers, and singing birds and peacocks fanned their splendid tails in the morning light. Admiring an ashok tree in full bloom, the queen walked towards it, when suddenly feeling unsteady, she grabbed a branch of the ashok tree to support her, and just at that moment, still holding the branch, Queen Mahayana gave birth to a radiant sun. So the story goes on that sages arrive at the scene and wash the baby. The washing, there's two spouts of water come down, one cool and one warm, and they're scented. So this is why it's the practice is that they use water to wash the baby Buddha to celebrate the birthday. So he was wrapped, and 7 days after his birth, Mahamaya died. Now, Jindo put a little note in here that there's no account of why or how, but in this Mayapadana Sutra, it says that this is the rule, that she will die 7 days after and go to Siddhi heaven to remain there forever. Live a good life. So after she died, his aunt, Mahapajapati, became the woman that looked after him, and she became Buddha's first woman disciple and led the order of Lakshunis as an ordained nun. Further to that, I'd like to leave you with a list of suggested family activities that can be used to celebrate this auspicious occasion. These are the bathing of the baby Buddha on the day of Wesak, and participate in a ceremony at home with your family in which all participants will bathe the figure of the baby Buddha. You can celebrate nature by taking a walk in nature. You may get to be fortunate enough to go right into a thick forest, deep forest, or just to a city park. It's good to celebrate that in spring. Spring is new beginnings. The birth of Buddha was a new beginning and hope for this world. So you go outside with the family, weather permitting. In Japan, April is a wonderful time. In Canada, not so or go to a food bank and help out. Any kind of volunteer work is a good idea. Charitable organizations. Lighting lanterns. I believe there was a link that Vindo put up that gave you instructions to how to use lanterns. It'd be a little like the oboe, I can imagine as well. And each family can make one to symbolize both the Buddha's light and the light in each of us. If you have small children, you may want to hold a birthday party with a cake and everything, right? A birthday party for the baby Buddha. Celebrate the holiday with a typical children's birthday party, but with the baby Buddha as the birthday boy. Invite other, especially Buddhist children, and cake and ice cream. I see he put a note here, in moderation. You can read the story. This is the catch. You can read the story of Buddha's birth. If you're going to prepare for next year, you better start now. There's a lot of them to pick from. Tell the story of Buddha's birth, early life, and continue up to slightly after his enlightenment. This story can be found in a few different versions, like Becoming Buddha or whatever. And then an elephant hunt. Where do you hide an elephant? Much like a Easter egg hunt, families of small children could enjoy an elephant hunt. I suppose little elephants, little ceramic elephants, or little fuzzy elephants, or chocolate elephants. Do make chocolate elephants, right? Why? Because Siddhartha's mother dreamt of a white elephant while she became pregnant with him. So summing it all up, the rules were stated ahead of time, and I guess you can say that Buddha, like all the rest of us humans, was deluded, and he spent a wonderful time in his through his prime. His father protected him, made sure that he was sheltered from seeing the woes of mankind, sickness, old age, death, and he was married at I think he's 18, and they not at age 29, so he was married for about 10 years and had a wonderful time. The honeymoon apparently lasted for a long time, and finally he had a son born, and they call him Rahula. Rahula is translate as a fetter, and he spent nights watching his wife with the baby, and realizing that if he stayed, if he continued to do this, he would be fettered. He would be unable to answer all the questions that he had. He had all these questions about sickness and old age and death. And he realized that everybody was subject to this. So that's why he left. He realized that he had to give. He had to sacrifice. He had to give up this good life, give up good life, is that, if that's what you want to call it. It was just a lavish procession of wonderful things. So I had a small verse that I wanted to say. May all living beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May all living beings be free from misery and the causes of misery. May all living beings never be separated from happiness, devoid of misery. May all living beings abide in equanimity, free from prejudicial attachments and aversions. Thank you.
Okay, I guess we'll have some questions, answers, but I'm going to be rude, and I'm going to take the first question on this one. Can you hear me, Shokai?
I can hear you.
Okay, I have a problem. I don't believe 90% of what you just said. Yeah, by the way, it was a beautiful, beautiful talk. And the presentation and the scene, thank you so much, Shokai. It was amazing. But what I'm saying is I'm sitting here in Buddhist robes in front of a Buddhist statue. I'm going to speak for the skeptics. I don't believe in an elephant. Well, it was in a dream, so that's all right. But I don't believe in walking, talking babies and waters that come from heaven. And I think women in those days, they actually did stand and give birth, because they did in Japan here too. Okay, so does that mean I'm a bad Buddhist? And should I turn in my robes right now? And how do I understand what you just said? Because to me, it's crazy. I'm very skeptical. What do I do, Shokai?
Okay. First of all, I hope you believe it was me that was talking. Okay. That wasn't a controversial joke, by the way. I have to believe you. I brought out some of these differences myself, right? Where they're talking that he was born on a new moon as opposed to a full moon. There's a big difference. It's about 15 days, you know? So where does that stand up? Where, you know, you're saying she stood and she held the tree. Maybe that's true that they held trees to give birth at that time. I don't know. They used to get off and hold on to the cartwheel on the wagon trail, right, and have the baby in the ditch. But it never came out from under their arm. It says that the Bodhisattva leaved her womb and came to birth, right? It seems it's a stretch. It's a stretch. Look at all the other sutras, all the millions and thousands, and you know, all these people. We invoke all of these people to come to our services, don't we? But do they all come with flowers and white elephants and red dragons and all this sort of stuff, I have to go along with you. I read it because I researched it and I found out that that's what they said. But how do we know that's what they said? That stuff was written 500 years after the event. 500 years. It's what they wanted it to be something wonderful. The Buddha has been made up to be something, I shouldn't say more than what he actually was, because he did a lot of good stuff. He taught for 40 years. He taught a lot of people. He's influenced a lot of people, and he still does day upon day upon day. But he wanted to be known as a human. As a human. If you go by the poetry and the sutras and all that stuff, he doesn't look like a human, does he? But I believe that he was a human. I believe that he was a real person. He was a historical person, a historical individual. He actually was here, did here, came here, and still is here. So how do you teach it? Same way, huh?
Other questions for Shokai? Come on, this is our chance. We got to put him on the spot. Let's go, guys. Jonan, good.
Thank you. Hi, Shokai. Thank you for your talk. It's not a question. It's more a comment on what Jundo asked. I can see two levels here of understanding. On the first level, we need the myth in order to teach ourselves to feed our imaginations, to have wonderful stories, to believe that there was a person who was greater than the greats in this planet, and that inspires people and promotes goodwill among believers and followers. But now in modern times, I think the story of the Buddha is of value because he was just a guy, and that's the most important part for me. Yes, we have the myth, which is wonderful. We should all read, enjoy it, study it, and know it. But the most important, or the takeaway for me, is that the Buddha was just a guy as you and me and anyone else. So enlightenment is possible because he was just a guy and I am a guy. And if I dedicate myself, if I study, if I practice the Buddha Dharma, I might go as far as he went. But that's important part, that he was just a guy. So we need the myth, we need to study it. It's wonderful to know it, but we must not lose sight that he was just a guy, and that's why Buddhism is so valuable and important and relevant for today's society.
Good point. Good point. He was just a guy, and it's good for us to know that, because we all have the potential to do what he did, because he didn't end up as just a guy. He became a pure being, unconditional love, which is what we all are, but the potential that we all are, but we don't realize it, and we have to learn that. He learned it, and he showed us a path to find out how to do that. So, yeah, it's nice. The stories are all nice, and in many branches of Buddhism, the different flavors that you get, Theravada for certain, they have lots of flourishes. And to tell you the truth, that's why I'm in Zen. Probably for the same reason that Jindo is.
Any questions here in the room? You notice some parallels to that other story about the birth. You know that other one, right? With the star. Yeah? Yeah. That's human. I think it's in the human heart. You know? Anybody at home? Ah, Jacodan. Let me get you there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
So, do you think maybe it's fair to say maybe this story, or whatever its variations, maybe doesn't even matter because the reality is maybe even more fantastic, which is that Buddha is all the babies and all the toddlers and all the births and all the flowers and all the trees. And so, if you can wrap your head around that, then maybe it's not so fantastic.
That's true. I go along with you. We don't really know what's out there, do we? We're just living a virtual life here inside our heads and making it what we think it is. But the pictures that Jindo posted this morning, was it this morning you put up the stuff with from the helicopter, the telescope?
Yes.
Just how unbelievably infinite this universe is.
Let me just
Really?
tell you what that was. They put all the Hubble deep space pictures together, and there are millions of stars. 2,800 stars. They're not stars. They're galaxies. And it's in one little picture, there's thousands of galaxies.
And I'm sort of interacting with a doctor now that says that well, everything is energy, and I think we can believe that intellectually, probably, but do we really feel that? Do we really know that? You know, like his one thing is you hold up your hand. What is in your hand? What's in your hand? He says so you take a microscope and you get closer and closer and you look at it, you get to the point where it's just space with electrical charges moving around. You know, that's what everything is. Everything is energy. So yeah, the nice story. Maybe it is all roses, lotuses. Sorry. Interesting question. Thank you.
Any last questions for Shokai?
I notice this every time I teach whatever I've taught over more years than I'd like to imagine, that you learn things, and thank you. I've learned this evening.
I'm going to ask Kyonin to recite the verse to close this.
Can I close it? Can I close it?
Yes, please.
Do I use a bell? Nega waku wa kono kuruku o mote, amina kui sai ni oyoboshi, warira to shujo to minatomo ni, butsudo o jozen koto o. Ji ho san shi ishi fu, shi son bu sa moko sa. Moko hoja horo mi. And I'll do that in English.
That was the old school version. We learned your old school this week.
Yeah. Well, hey, look who's talking. It's a generational thing, right? I'm not going to do the English one because I can't find the book.
wanted to do it, or
Kyonen, go for it.
May the merits of these teachings penetrate into each thing in all places, so that we and every sentient being together may realize the Buddha's way. All Buddhas throughout space and time. All Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, Maham, Rashnam, Paramita.
thank you so much, Shokai. Okay, Captain Pike is going to take back command of the Starship Enterprise here. Would you pass me the bell there and the little ringer that's under the table? Thank you. Under yeah, thank you. So Zazen is not Shokai. First off, that was it was a flower opening. That was beautiful. Zazen is not a matter of long and short. Sometimes we sit long, sometimes has the whole of time. Just okay. So now we're going to sit short, but in your mind, give up all measure, long and short. We're only going to sit for a minute or so, okay? But don't think long, don't think short. Just sit where you are, because it's not place either. Just where you are is fine. Okay? Let's sit for a moment. We will now have a short kinhin. Also, not long, not It's hokey pokey time. No hokey pokey. I looked to tell you this is an ancient Buddhist ritual. I'm not telling the truth. I'm violating precept. It's actually a dance you do at weddings in the United States and some other places. It's a kid's song. But right now, we dance a hokey pokey. Okay? Okay, we're going to dance a hokey pokey. Now, I looked to see, could I find a hokey pokey in Vietnamese? I couldn't find it. But found Vietnamese school children dancing the hokey pokey. So we're going to dance with school children from Vietnam. That's what you'll be hearing. It's a little long. It's about 5 minutes. So I guess they really get into all the body. You do the other hand, the leg. Then you do the whole thing. Okay? Okay. All right. This is a very serious ritual. So please stop laughing, everybody. No, I'm just saying. Actually, I should say start laughing, everybody. Let me just find where I put it. Sometimes I click the wrong thing and I turn everybody off here. Here we go. Okay. Are you ready? Let me see what I can do. Okay, here we go. Make sure you can hear.
One, two, three, four.
Hey. Okay. Let me not turn this. Okay. Let me get you guys back here. Could you guys hear that okay? Was it okay? Okay. All right. Okay. Wait. finding of that? Doesn't. We will have a long Ginhin. want to smoke? We will now recite the metaverses, followed by Zazen. Okay. You don't have to stand. You can sit. She likes to stand. Maybe because we sit so much. You can sit down if you want. I mean, you're old like me, don't you? I'll explain what this is. This is metaverses. And it basically means you wish people in the world and your life peace. And if they're sick, even to be, how to say, peace with their sickness. But the part I talk about, even difficult person, maybe in your life, someone that caused you pain, or even in the world, we wish them peace. The reason is, in our belief is, if they knew peace in their heart, they would not do bad things. You know, so you're saying, oh, I wish the happiness to the bad person, right? We think that they're bad because something inside has no peace. So that's why we wish them peace. And they're sick. That's why they do bad things. So we wish them to be healthy. So I have to explain that. Why do we wish like really bad person to be healthy and happy? You know? Okay. So anyway, this is it. You know Thich Nhat Hanh? Thich Nhat Hanh. He's famous Vietnamese teacher. Yeah, my pronunciation.
Yeah.
He's very big on this. He teaches us very much. But sit down. You're not young like she is.
No, it's too important.
Too important. No, it's not. No, I'm going to sit. Okay. Okay.
Jundo, please check your camera.
Am I dark again?
Yes.
I wonder what's causing this. I'm dark to everybody? Onkai, you can't see me? Okay, let's try this again. How about now?
There you are.
Okay. Okay. Wonder what's doing that. Another Google, how to say, Hangouts mystery. Let's look at that. Okay. All right, we will now recite the metaverses. As I explain each time, these are not just words, but it's actually a visualization exercise, or as I like to say, a kind of method acting. If you are an actor, you had to be in a play, and you have to play angry person. You can be angry person on the stage, but if you need to be loving person, you can be loving person. So even if it's difficult for you, for this exercise in your heart, please play the role. You're loving all the time, right? But please play the role of feeling peace and really feeling it. It's not just the words. I think what Shokai recited during his beautiful talk was a version of this. It seemed very close. And I often explain, because we have someone here for the first time, that we recite even for difficult or person who's doing violence or ugly things in the world. I'm going to recite today for people who do child abuse, because if they knew peace in their heart, they would not do that. If they knew satisfaction and didn't have the excess desire, they wouldn't do child abuse. So as hard as it is, you're saying, why am I wishing this person does child abuse to be healthy? Because he's sick. And if he knew, like you have a bad tooth, it makes you angry and you do violent things. If he didn't have the sickness, the pain, if he knew peace, we don't think he's a bad person. He's a person like you and me who's doing a bad thing. And we have to believe that if we were in certain conditions, we could do bad things maybe too, believe it or not, because we're just the same animal as everybody. So it's very difficult to do this, but it's very important to heal our hearts, even to say peace to everyone. Now, that doesn't mean that we excuse child abuse. No, child abuser needs to be stopped, punished by the society. That's a different thing. There's no excuse for child abuse, and if you do it, there's a penalty in the society. And even in Buddhism, in the karma, they say if you believe in next life, you do a bad thing this life, he's in hell now. Maybe he go to hell again next life, but you do a bad thing, there's a penalty. In Christianity, same thing. You do a bad thing, there's a price. Okay, but we're at the same time we're saying, now please get better. Please don't be sick, because we believe too, everybody eventually becomes Buddha. Everybody gets the cure. So don't be sick forever. That's what we're saying. Okay, so I got to explain that. We begin with somebody we love in our family. Then we chant for a friend. Then we chant for someone who's almost a stranger, like you met them one time in the street, just passing on a bus. Okay, then we chant for the difficult person. Am I missing anything? Then we chant for all the sentient beings, and let's include all those galaxies in the Hubble telescope photo, please. Okay?
Chant for ourselves.
Huh?
And when do we chant for ourselves?
Oh, yeah, I forgot that. Yeah, we begin with ourselves. Sorry, I knew I was forgetting something. Please chant for me. My head's not so good. Okay, let's begin with ourselves. It's okay to chant for yourself here, to wish yourself peace too. No problem, because it's all connected. Ready? May I be free of suffering. Really feel that. Suffering, go away. May I feel safe and still. May I be free of enmity. Enmity means hate. May I be free of enmity. May I be loving. Feel it. Grateful and kind. All religions share these same values, by the way. Just kindness, being loving. May I be healthy. But if not, may I be at ease in all my ills. May I be at peace, embracing all conditions of life. Now, for someone in our family, someone we love. Okay? You got somebody, friends? You got someone in your mind to chant for? Someone you love. Okay? May she be free of suffering. May she feel safe and still. May she be free of enmity. May she be loving, grateful, and kind. She already is. May she be healthy and at ease in all her ills. May she be at peace, embracing all conditions of life. Okay, now for just a friend, maybe someone we work with or something like that. Oh, I'm losing my ropes here. May he be free of suffering. May he feel safe and still. May he be free of enmity. May he be loving, grateful, and kind. May he be healthy and at ease in all his ills. May he be at peace, embracing all conditions of life. Okay. Now a stranger, someone you barely met, in a store. May she be free of suffering. May she be safe and still. May she be free of enmity. May she be loving, grateful, and kind. May she be healthy and at ease in all her ills. May she be at peace, embracing all conditions of life. Now, for someone difficult in your life or in the world, I'm going to be chanting for people who do child abuse, some too close to home sometimes. And I'll be using they because there's no limit to the power of this. It doesn't weaken. The more people you include, maybe the stronger it becomes. May they be free of suffering. May they feel safe and still. May they be free of enmity. May they be loving, grateful, and kind. May they be healthy and at ease in all their ills. May they be at peace, embracing all conditions of life. Okay, now for, did I miss anybody this time? Did I get anybody? Okay. All sentient beings, all the galaxies. Let's include As Jakudin said, all the babies, all the blades of grass too, everything, okay? May we be free of suffering. May we feel safe and still. May we be free of enmity. May we be loving, grateful, and kind. May we be healthy and at ease in all our ills. May we be at peace, embracing all conditions of life. Okay. You know, we can't be sure that we is the right pronoun to use with the space aliens. We don't. They may have their own pronoun, like thwok. May thwok be free. You know, I just made that up. I'm just saying, we just assume that it's a we or a they or he or she, but it could be a what, you know. All right, anyway, this is the time of day when we all get a little, you know. Okay. 10 more minutes, we're going to sit. You can sit here, relaxed, or over there, anything you want. It's very short sitting, okay? And then we finish for today. All right, let's sit. Zazen. Discombobulated here. Francis, you're a nice sitter. I've been watching you. You sit very nicely. I get the good feeling. Very, very good, especially for a new person. We will now recite the verse of atonement and the 4 vows.
All harmful words, thoughts, and acts ever committed by me since of old, on account of beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and mind, now I atone for them all. To save all sentient beings, though beings numberless, to transform all delusions, though delusions inexhaustible, to perceive reality, though reality is boundless, to attain the enlightened way, a way unattainable, to save all sentient beings, though beings numberless, to transform all delusions, though delusions inexhaustible, to perceive reality, though reality is boundless, to attain the enlightened way, a way unattainable, to save all sentient beings, though beings numberless, to transform all delusions, though delusions inexhaustible, to perceive reality, though reality is boundless, to attain the enlightened way, a way non-attainable.
That's what it's all about. Wonderful, wonderful. Boy, the weather here is, if it's anything like it is here, you must go outside today. You cannot spend it indoors. I just want to close with 2 words. One is a combination of Shokai and Kyonin. One is Jakuden. Kyonin and Shokai said, remember, we celebrate the Buddha. He was a guy who did good stuff. I like that very much. And then Jakuden said, and yes, Buddha is all the babies, all the blades of grass, all those galaxies from the Hubble. Okay, see? And then there's also the Buddha. We don't know what to say. Right? Have a lovely, lovely spring day. See you guys later. Okay? See you guys. See you, Uncle.